Well, that was quick. Kickstarter's already walked back its ban on not safe for work content, which doesn't surprise me given how much not safe for work content is on the platform, and especially in comics and tabletop games, there's a lot of content that would be considered not safe for work.
I was surprised they even were going to say this initially. I mean, I'm sure if it's the payment processors, they can't, what can they do?
Yeah.
But I thought it was weird because I know that smut has been one of their big sellers for years.
Yes, they've been peddling smut since the beginning of Kickstarter, pretty much. But there's been a lot of talk about the payment processors cracking down on not safe for work, but it's not just like illegal stuff or like X-rated stuff. Some of what they were proposing to ban was like if you can see the shape of a nipple through a shirt. Like, I'm like, wait a second. There are like PG-13 games and comics on the stands that would not be able to be, crowdfunded on Kickstarter by those, rules. So, and they're saying it's Stripe. They think it's Stripe. I don't know.
I'm just sorry. I'm just with nipples through shirts. I'm like, don't go out in public because you see that.
I know, right? It's like, oh my God, my nipples are so hard.
My credit cards aren't going to work anymore because my nipples might show.
My credit cards aren't going to work because my nipples are hard. So look, Stripe has been the one, Stripe and PayPal, that they've really been cracking down on the not safe for work content, both in the game space and now apparently in the crowdfunding space. And I mean, I get it. You don't want to be bankrolling illegal stuff. You don't want to be bankrolling like kiddie stuff or anything like that. But again, I do believe it was massive overreach in what they were.
It was overkill.
And they're going to blame the payment processors, but I think it's actually going to be like Valve and Itch, where they were overcorrecting because they were so afraid of not being able to take payments anymore that they're like, okay, anything that's even questionable at this point, we're not going to fight for it. We're just going to roll over and just, ban it. Self-censor.
I thought they were trying to change that the payment processors weren't allowed to dictate what you could and couldn't use your money for.
I think Trump passed something, but I think it was about politics. I would have to check that, but I'm pretty sure it's about politics.
Obviously, you don't want certain things. You have people spending money on certain things for obvious reasons. Whether it be something that rhymes with trafficking. Or, editors.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be responsible for bankrolling legit illegal stuff, right? But now they're even to the point where they don't want to bankroll anything that's even like R-rated. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. At that point, be like, hey, guess what? You tried to buy a movie ticket to an R-rated movie and your credit card doesn't work now. So we're going to have to, and then we're going to call you in for questioning, even though this is at the theater. It was very weird. I personally think what happened was Kickstarter self-censored, like Valve self-censored, and they were trying to err on the side of caution. But then they probably took a look at it and they're like, oh, yeah, like 2/3 of our comics are not safe for work.
I'm sure they got lots and lots and lots of feedback.
I'm sure they got a lot. Is that what we're calling it? Feedback?
Yeah, by both customers and, people that are putting up the crowdfunders up, because a lot of the projects, and in fact, they wouldn't know that would surprise me because, everybody kind of knows that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's been that way since the beginning. And we've been around Kickstarter since the beginning.
Yeah, Kickstarter's been around a long time. I don't think people realize, like, it's been around since like 2008, 2009, almost as long as YouTube. It's so weird. Like, people are like, all of a sudden, all these people are doing crowdfunders. It's like, no, they've been doing crowdfunders for like years. 15 years now.
It was early, but a lot of people gaming and comics were the ones who released it early.
Webcomics people, and a lot of those early, I'm going to be honest, a lot of those early crowdfunders that did really well, they were not safe for work. So, because,
like Patreon, sex sells.
Pretty much. And that was a whole thing too. They were banning people over on Patreon. Patreon was so crazy at one point that they were actually asking to look in your Google Drive to make sure that they weren't, bankrolling smut off platform. And then they were banning people like Sargon of Akkad for making comments off platform. And in that case, I don't agree with it. If you did something off platform that you're not directly bankrolling, but they consider it like at least in Patreon's case, I don't think it's that way as much anymore, but they're like, oh, we're bankrolling your lifestyle, so you have to be good on every on every platform or whatever.
They were also very nebulous over there too. Like they wouldn't tell you, like people were like, what exactly can I not do? And they said it's case by case basis.
Well, they had a former PayPal executive being in charge of trust and safety, so they were trying to adhere to like, you know, what PayPal would or wouldn't do. Which PayPal's come up now too. Grum's had it, and apparently this has been going on for a while now, but you're not allowed to post not safe for work stuff or pay for not safe for work stuff with PayPal. But now there's some confusion here because apparently this has been an ongoing thing for a while, but I think you'd have to explicitly spell out, you know, this is payment for artwork with titties or something.
But you have to spell that out?
I don't know. But PayPal is really weird. I mean, we had problems with them. We first opened we told people before we had an esports gaming center or whatever. They actually locked our, because we had Zettel, which was the PayPal thing. They actually locked our register, and I had to call them because they're like, yeah, we don't know enough about your business and you're making too much money on opening day. So like, we're going to lock I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And I had to call them and be like,
anti-business. PayPal, they're anti-business.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, that's freaking weird. So yeah, PayPal, you got to kind of watch too.
I mean, I guess they're like, well, we thought you were like, you know, you were scamming or
money laundering or something. Yeah.
Like, these payment processors don't stop other people like politicians from laundering money, but I know, right? Yes.
They're like pushing millions of dollars through. I'm like, yeah, we just had a really good day because we just opened. And they were like, oh yeah, we're going to lock your register on opening day. That's awkward. Anyway, let's talk about Kickstarter. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, get woohoo if you do. Woohoo. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello, that's me.
And if you'd like more of us, this is not on Patreon, but it's on Substack. Go out to moreclownfishtv.com. That's moreclownfishtv.com. And we got some episodes out there that you will not find anywhere else, including one about webcomics. We talked about webcomics, how webcomics died kind of from the inside. Whoops, that's playing. But, and we do kind of talk a little bit, I think, about Kickstarter and stuff over there as well, and not safe for work stuff. So if you like furries and junk, go over there. Anyway.
What?
Well, we had a furry on that because we talked about furry comics and all this stuff.
It
was a long conversation.
That was very misleading. Anyway. Let's go to this. Yeah, you know, you said we were talking about with Patreon, and they said they wouldn't give anything. It was case by case basis. Isn't that what Kickstarter's saying now too? It's case by case basis.
Yeah, I think it's basically they will probably, if I'm reading this correctly, they will greenlight it. But if Stripe has an issue with it, that's a you problem.
Yeah, it says Stripe can still suspend. Yes.
Yeah, and now they just started using. I was trying to think when they switched over to Stripe. I'm pretty sure they used to have a different payment processor, but everybody's using Stripe now. Indiegogo's using Stripe. Patreon, I think, might be using Stripe now. I don't know.
Stripe?
What's that?
Is X use Stripe?
X uses Stripe.
Yeah, I thought so.
Indiegogo. Yeah, they're all using it now. So you're pretty much at the mercy of Stripe if you do any kind of crowdfunding or anything like that. So this comes from Kotaku. Kickstarter reverts controversial ban on not safe for work projects, but says Stripe can still suspend. Yeah, they're going to basically let Stripe deal with it. Says Stripe can still suspend approved campaigns. So Kickstarter is saying we might approve this campaign. Just be aware you might not get paid for it. Right? They said that Stripe could suspend it mid-funding. So
that's not good.
That's not good. And actually the worst case scenario is, and I've heard of this happening before, is that people are like, okay, well, I got my thing funded, so now I'm going to, you know, pay the printer or pay my artist or pay whatever, and then they don't get their money. They just like tie it up. We had an issue with Indiegogo, and there's reasons we don't use Indiegogo. Even before the sale, we knew things weren't very good. They held our one campaign, they held up for like a month.
Yeah, for no reason.
Quote unquote, trust and safety. I'm like, trust and safety for what?
And we hadn't had any problems up to that point. You know, yeah.
They were going broke is what was going on.
Trust and safety, yeah.
Yeah, they're going broke.
Our trust and safety, me and them, yeah.
Yeah, we can't afford to pay this month, right? So last week, crowdfunding platform Kickstarter made some questionable updates to its rules guidelines, prohibiting several forms of not safe work content, including implied sex acts, sexually derogatory themes, so you couldn't have any like BDSM or whatever, photorealistic nudity, and most bizarrely, MILF and DILF stuff. Oh, and buttocks. At the same time, creators assume the blame lay with Stripe, Kickstarter's payment processor. It sounded awfully similar to what happened with Steam. Yeah, yes. Steam last year. Today, Kickstarter has reverted the restrictive, not safe for work rules it had previously put in place, and in a blog post titled "An Apology, Rethinking Our Mature Content Guidelines," it's outright confirmed that the botched guidelines were primarily driven by requirements from Kickstarter's payment processor, Stripe.
Yeah, well, I figured, and I'm sure that the apology is because of the massive amount of backlash and complaints they got for both creators and customers.
Stripe operates under its own legal and compliance requirements, separate from Kickstarter's own rules, said the chief operating officer. And even Stripe's rules are dictated by a larger system shaped by financial institutions that govern how money moves globally. So this is important because a lot of this stuff started when countries like Australia started having a shit fit about manga.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I say, it's a lot. I think it has more to the other countries than it does over here.
Yeah.
But they also don't, like I said, want to be associated with things that could be related to trafficking or other things.
Which is understandable. If it's actually illegal. You don't want
to be funding that, you know.
Yeah. If it's actually illegal, if it's like, well, I don't like that this person swears, so I'm going to take their money away from them. That's dumb. And it is being abused. And sometimes I think it's being abused by the platform to just find a reason to deplatform people. Like, oh yeah, hey there, Sargon. Yeah, PayPal's not gonna pay anymore. So we're just gonna yank that money from you. He said, under the system, many platforms, including other crowdfunding and creator monetization platforms, struggle with how to create space for mature content while getting the creators of that work paid without friction. X is running into this too.
You get paid if there is no friction.
Yeah, right. There's no friction, no lube allowed. They noted that, as detailed in the Daily Cartoonist article, several Kickstarter-approved projects have subsequently been suspended by Stripe due to said compliance requirements. Over the past several months, we've seen a growing number of campaigns that had already been approved by Kickstarter get suspended by Stripe mid-funding. When that happens, it's devastating. A creator's project can be frozen with funds in limbo, sometimes weeks into a campaign they've spent months, even years building.
So basically, Kickstarter allows it. You have to understand, if you want to crowdfund something like this, Stripe might have a problem with it. At that point, I would argue that Stripe needs to provide clear, concise rules of what isn't allowed. I mean, they might have those out there, but Kickstarter needs to make those rules, posted so people can see them. Like, these are the things Stripe may have an issue with. So be aware. If you're launching a crowdfunder campaign, if these things are included, Stripe may cut it off mid-funding or not give you your money.
Well, that's the thing too. So Stripe, though, I don't know if they tell you specifically what the issue is, because
they need to, though. That's it. The same with Patreon. You need a rubric. You need to say these are the things that you can and cannot do. You need to make it crystal clear so there's no confusion. And they don't. And then they're like, well, it's like case by case basis. No. No.
And they're like, why are people jumping to conclusions that it's about politics or it's about this or about that? I'm like, well, if you don't give them another reason, or your reason's very nebulous, then they're going to jump to that conclusion. And I know I've seen people get banned from Stripe before. I've seen the letters of people getting banned from Stripe. And a lot of times they don't tell you why. They're just like, we're sorry, we can't fund XYZ thing for whatever reason. And you don't know why. It could be a number of things.
But they need to make it clear. They need to be like, they need to make it clear what you can and can't do. And if they're worried something they hadn't thought of yet arises, they can always say, or any other egregious things that are similar to these, if it arises, we can make that decision. But they need to be very clear and upfront. And people, like I said, we argue the same thing with Patreon. You need to tell people what they can and can't do so there is no confusion. Otherwise, I think they're cruising for a lawsuit or a class action lawsuit, because if they're going to pull enough people, they could go together and be like, you haven't been clear, and so now you cost me time, money, all this other stuff because of your nebulous rules.
Yeah. I think what they should do with Kickstarter, because they're saying here too, this is the COO, he said, faced with the realization that creators would continue getting caught in the gap between our rules and Stripe's rules, we thought that the best path forward was to close the gap, giving creators one set of rules to work within versus having to navigate two different policy philosophies. I think that there should be a backup payment processor.
Yeah.
Or I would say we will fund this campaign if you can come up with, like, if Stripe won't do it, but PayPal will, or some other, whatever, or we do a direct funds transfer to the person's bank. Why? But then it's on Kickstarter, right?
Well, then does that, then how do you get the money back if they don't deliver or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know.
So here's my thing. They should have been up front from the get-go and said, here's the issue. Stripe, not in the apology, up front. Stripe it has these new rules in place. So we're going to have to adhere to these rules or we cannot run your campaigns because we don't want people to be in mid-campaign and get struck. So it's like with Stripe, we've created these rules and they've spelled them out, but they don't want to give rules because they still want that opportunity to like, have, grounds to go after certain things. They decide, that week it's bad. They're just basically by political climate, we decide what's bad and what's not globally. And it's like, you just give people a list, then Kickstarter could just follow the same list and everybody would be up front on the same page. And you wouldn't have had so much trouble, but you didn't just be up front from the beginning.
I'm still waiting for like, oh, hey, you said something mean on Twitter 8 years ago, so like you're perma-banned from Stripe forever.
That could be. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
they're not giving you a clear set of rules. And if Kickstarter was going to try to remove these to try to adhere to Stripe's rules, one, they should have told people that, and two, they should have worked with Stripe ahead of time to form new rules and been like, here's the rules we have to use if we're going to use Stripe as our payment processor.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I do expect that some spicier content will be pulled down and they'll just blame Stripe. And that's what they're going to do now. They're going to be like, hey, we're the good guys in this. We like your MILF DILF stuff. We like...
it's going to be pulled faster than that DILF's pants.
Oh, my God. All right. Let's wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.